Before we continue with today's upload, I would like to give a special thanks to Brickster for providing us with this week's Get Good thumbnail. A link to their channel and Twitter will be in the description.
Today I shall approach the dragon as a sunflower. What could possibly go wrong?
You're a fucking idiot.
Welcome to a video on how to get good at the Lil Drake, not to be confused with the musician artist by the same name. Players who are able to master this fiery little shitbag will be able to annoy more players on the enemy team than the number of shits people give about PVZ3. Let's get started. The Lil Drake is a variant of the Imp class, who is not only a Harry Potter fan, but also a huge listener of Drake's albums and other shit, so much to the point that he named himself after the musician. Their primary weapon is of a pair of rapid fire blasters that use the power of baby dragons fed 20 pounds of Taco Bell and 6 ghost peppers, with each of their asses plugged with an iron cork, so they are forced to shoot it out of their mouths. The weapon fires at 625 rounds per minute and has 30 ammo per clip before needing to take a swift 1.5 second reload. Each shot fired can deal 5 damage for a normal hit and 6 damage for a critical hit. However, the weapon is subject to quite a bit of drop off, with it going down to 4 damage for a normal hit and 4.8 damage for a critical hit at mid-range. Unlike the stock imps, Drake's projectiles do not arc at range, but they are extremely slow, so you will need to lead your shots and predict where your enemies are going. Whilst sniping is normally not suggested when playing as most bean-shaped midgets on 82 pounds of sugar, with Lil Drake, sniping actually can be useful, primarily thanks to him being a fire variant, which not only allows him to chip at enemies, but also occasionally crush their hopes and dreams in keeping their 69 kill streak untouched. Each time he hits an enemy, they will be set on fire, dealing 4 damage every 3/4 of a second for the next 3.75 seconds. Additional hits will refresh the duration and keep the target burning. This effectively allows you to be the most annoying piece of shit like you're supposed to as an imp, without the risk of getting right into the enemy's face. Enjoy landing all of a single bullet and pissing off your enemies as they try and figure out where the fuck you are. Of course, with every imp we cover, each of these little shits has their own unique toy. I'm referring to their mechs. You sick son of a bitch. Lil Drake, when he is allowed, can summon a fucking dragon that he takes control of. The dragon is tied with the Scallywag mech in having the most amount of health at a grand total of 400, though with what we will be discussing later, the Drake mech is easily the most durable mech out of the entire roster. The mech can last up to a maximum of 60 seconds and comes with its own unique kit. The Drake mech's primary weapon is of a short-range flamethrower that is essentially the Fire Chomper's primary but on crack. The weapon fires at 240 rounds per minute and can fire for up to 4.6 seconds before suffering an overheat, making it unavailable for the next 2.26 seconds. Each shot fired deals 13 damage and surprisingly has the longest range out of any spread-based weapon at an entire 11 fucking meters, which means that it has some surprising amount of reach. And of course, like every other spray weapon, you can mash the attack button to achieve a much higher damage output than intended, which is especially efficient with the Drake mech due to how much damage it can deal. Like the imp, the mech's attack sets enemies on fire for every time it hits them. However, instead of dealing 4 damage per interval, it's 5 damage per interval and only lasts for 3 seconds instead of 3.75 seconds. A strange change, but it's welcomed nonetheless, since it means more damage, and who the fuck doesn't love dealing more damage? The Drake mech also has a unique jump, which whilst initially much lower, can do it multiple times whilst in the air. This mini jump ties in well with the mech's first ability, Dragon Swoop. Dragon Swoop effectively causes the mech to launch itself forward, and it functions exactly like your typical all-star tackle in knocking plants away, forcing them out of rooted abilities and dealing 75 damage to all plants that get in its way. Like mentioned earlier, the mini jumps that this mech has synergies great with this ability, as if you tackle a village, you can use the multiple jumps to retain the momentum for a long period of time whilst in the air, which can in some cases allow you to travel across certain parts of the map like it's absolutely fucking nothing. Once the ability has been used, it will go on a 30-second cooldown, so use it sparingly. The second, more notable ability is the wing flap. The wing flap essentially makes a shield that surrounds the front of the mech and expires after it either blocks up to 100 damage that comes into contact with the shield or when 15 seconds have elapsed, whichever comes first. In the event that an attack does more damage than the shield's health, let's say a chili bean bomb for example, then the shield will pull off a pro gamer move and sponge the entire thing for you. Even if the damage dealt is monstrously high, as long as you have at least 1 health on that shield, you will be good to go, and it will gladly absorb it for you. This makes it great when in a tight situation, since you can easily use it to block a huge burst of damage, or if you think that vitamin C piece of shit is going to EMP you, you can throw it up ahead of time right before he does, and even with the stun the shield will be able to briefly protect you. Once the shield expires, it will go on a 30-second cooldown. So like the dragon swoop, you should only use the ability when absolutely necessary, as so that you can maximize your damage blocking skills. And like every mech, it comes with a self-destruct, which functions the same as every other mech. To save me repeating myself, check out the video covering the imp class in general. The optimum upgrade setup for the Lil Drake would be the ammo, fire, and health upgrades, with the ammo and health upgrades being especially important, as due to his damage per clip being relatively low at only 153, increasing it to just under 180 in combination with the fire damage over time, allows him to more comfortably go after higher health opponents. The health upgrade is also essential for a class as fragile as the imp, simply because he has less health than a Facebook mum willing to use anything aside from minion memes. In terms of strengths, Lil Drake's fire damage over time allows him to snipe at enemies for as long as he gets a single hit on them. The fire will chip away at their health. His mech is easily the most durable, with not only 400 base health, but a 100 health shield to stack on top of it, meaning that unless the enemy team physically coordinates an assault against you, the mech can easily survive most encounters. However, the Lil Drake's damage per clip is relatively low, meaning that higher health classes such as Citrons or the barbecue tree man can easily survive against his measly attacks. His mech, whilst extremely bulky, does have quite the range handicap, meaning that long range classes like cacti and corns, and especially this frozen motherfucker, will delete your mech before you can reach them. Lastly, as stated earlier, Frozen Citron can, like he does with every mech he finds, just chain stun you or just freeze snipe you with his beam, which for a mech that has a range handicap, makes life very fucking difficult. Thanks to this guide, you will now be the master of annoying people with the fire spewing bean boy and use the power of the dragon to roast people before sending 10 billion death threats or any frozen citron mains that exist. Before I end this video, the event for our fiery lord and savior is ending soon, and there are only a few days left where submissions will still be accepted, so if you haven't already, send in your submissions whilst you still can. Be sure to come back for the next episode next week. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to subscribe for more shit like this. Have fun.